And then, so I'm going to do a quick intro in character, and then we'll go ahead and get the camera started. So I'm George Jones, I'm the Commissioner of Rhode, and we're very much looking forward to PWC's thoughts on the revenue shortfalls and how to accomplish them. Here with me today are two of my colleagues, Teresa and Margaret. They'll be evaluating your presentation as well. So you can go ahead and begin whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are your PWC proposal team. I'm Samantha Williams. This is Connor Bouchard, Matt Luca, and Katie Marseglia. So we've given this issue in Westmead a great deal of thought over the past couple of weeks, and we believe we've devised a great plan for your infrastructure fixtures. At PWC, we use an issue, impact, and action methodology. So we're going to start with the issue. If you take a look at this chart, you'll see the trend of your fuel tax revenue, and it's been declining, especially since 2009. We've been experiencing these revenue shortfalls. And alternatively, your drivers are switching to hybrid and electric vehicles. This is great for the economy, but really it's just not supporting your gas tax revenue. Now, the impact stemming from this issue is that 25% of your state bridges have significant structural problems. This just can't happen anymore. You're deferring your road and bridge maintenance, and ultimately a bridge fell down, and that says to us you need money and you need it now to fix these roads. Finally, I'd like to point out that this situation is not unique to Westmead. It's a problem occurring all throughout the country, but we have a plan to fix Westmead first. Finally, we have an action. In the short term, we'd like to suggest that you privatize your highways. It's the best solution going forward. It'll remedy most of the issues going on. And then finally, we have long-term solutions to supplement the privatization of the highways. And those include annual fees for your hybrid and electric car drivers. We have an electric car charging station program that will be run by your state. And finally, we'd like to launch a green marketing campaign that will just keep bringing in revenues year on and year on. So I'd like to introduce Katie, and she'll talk to you about leasing these highways.
Thanks, Sam. Now, privatizing the highways is a great idea, and we propose you do that by leasing them to a reputable firm. Our legal department can help you facilitate that agreement. We suggest a 40 to 50-year lease and a payment upfront of $2.5 billion that will give you the revenue you need to fix your other infrastructure problems. There will be a 5 to 10% royalty fee that will bring in an annual revenue, as well as a clause that will mandate state construction workers will be hired for this project. That will alleviate any potential disputes you might have with the unions. Also, a reduced toll fee for in-state drivers will sit well with the voters and really get more of the revenue coming from commuters and tourists that come to your state. Now, next, we realize that basically the operational side of this is really a burden on Westmead, and that's one of the great benefits, is that the lessee will do this. The present and future maintenance of the infrastructure will all be in their hands. The state police salary will be paid for by the lessee, as well as they'll be in charge of the snow removal, salt, and other things that need to do after a long winter. Now Matt is going to talk to you about the other benefits.
We really felt as though there was a need for funds now. The gas tax revenue is only going to continue to decline, and this is a large problem for your state in Westmead. That is why our proposal brings in a bulk sum of money immediately for use. It's not going to create further debt for your state. We understand that doing things such as issuing bonds or loans, that may help fix the problem now, but it's only going to delay it to the past as far as making debt for the later of the years, and it's not really going to solve the issue in a whole. It's not just another tax. Making another tax like a green tax, or for instance raising the gas tax, that is not going to solve this issue also. It also may not even bring in enough revenue to make up the amount of money that is in need right now. Although we are really proposing that this is a short-term fix because a large amount of money is being brought in immediately, it can be used throughout time. There is money that is needed now, but that doesn't mean it needs to be $2.5 or so billion now. It can be spaced out over time and say invested for different uses. Here at PWC, it's largely important that we brought in the public appeal. Taxes are going to remain neutral. This is important to citizens of Westmead. They're going to see that their gas tax is not going to increase, and that their overall taxes aren't going to increase at all either. Is revenue being brought in from a different area? And that's important because it's money that can be used now, but it's not money that is going to be a burden on these citizens. Current state jobs are going to remain. We really understand that when a corporation is brought in, there's a lot of war. Jobs are going to be outsourced. Workers are going to be laid off. This is not going to be the case. We encourage that in the lease there be a clause that all the workers that are currently in Westmead, as Katie mentioned, the snow removal and the other maintenance workers, they all remain. That way, this will speed the program up, and this will allow for the infrastructure to be fixed immediately as it is needed. The Easy Pass network. We want this to be implemented. Of course, this is already mandated through a lot of the country right now, and because tolls will be put up by these corporations, this Easy Pass network will allow for all these drivers that are using these tolls to use them efficiently and reduce traffic when tolls are put up. Lastly, we want a program to help in-state drivers. We don't want to burden those who are using the roads the majority of the time, while your large tourism industry is bringing these tourists who aren't being held accountable for using these roads. This is not fair to the in-state drivers. That's why, beyond these tolls being placed on the outskirts of the states, which will allow for those outstate drivers to use these tolls more than in-state drivers, we want those who live in Westmead to pay a reduced fee through the Easy Pass system, of course. And what this will allow is that the responsibility is placed back on the tourists who are using the roads and not being held accountable for it. We brought in Connor Bouchard from our Chicago office, who worked specifically on a project similar to our proposal.
Thanks, Matt. Privatizing the highways is growing rapidly across the country, and we feel that Westmead must privatize their highways. Even though it's a new concept, we have worked on many similar proposals and have completed many proposals. One of them is the Chicago Skyway, which is 108 miles long, and we helped lease it for $1.9 billion. We also helped with the Indiana Toll Road, which was 157 miles long, and we helped lease it for $3.8 billion. The last one we did was the Dulles Highway, which was only 14 miles long, but we helped lease it for $1.3 billion. Clearly, when we lease these, we're bringing billions of dollars right away to help fix the infrastructure that we greatly need to fix. Also, from the experience with this, we learned what has worked good and what hasn't worked that good. And we believe that Westmead has to use a shorter lease. It has to be 40 to 50 years instead of 75 to 99 years like some have been. We say this because we don't want Westmead to get locked into a proposal that they really don't want to be in anymore. Also, we believe that Westmead needs to receive a percentage of the toll revenue. If they receive just 5% of the toll revenue every year, they'll make $5 million annually. That, over time, can add up and greatly help the infrastructure. And now I'm going to pass it off to Katie, who's going to show the complement plans for privatizing the highway.
Now, privatizing the highway will obviously give us the upfront lease payment, will give you the upfront lease payment that you need. However, annually it would be nice to have some supplemental income. Our first proposal would be an annual fee for hybrid and electric car users, $200 for each electric car and $100 for each hybrid car, which would be adjusted for inflation throughout the years. Now, this is great because it's not just another green tax. It is targeted specifically to those users who aren't paying the fuel tax. This would come out to about $155 million in yearly revenues, and so it would be a big chunk of change that you could use towards other infrastructure problems. Next, we would have the state-run electric car charging stations. These stations cost about $10,000 to install, which there are federal grants available for. Oregon just recently received a $3 million federal grant to install a 3,000 station network in their state. This would bring in about a $4 per hour profit, which would turn into $3 million per year. And it also goes along with your environmentally friendly image, which is important to the next component of our final plan. And that would be to utilize the upfront lease payments and really leverage your assets. Leverage the beautiful beaches and mountains that you have in Westmead. Launch a global marketing campaign and promote your green vacation state. You will see increased recreational fee revenues and increases in sales tax revenue. It will not only be good for green businesses, but it will be good for businesses in general. They will all flourish and see the profits of an influx of traffic into your state. And best of all, it's not just another tax. Sam?
So finally, just as a summary of our proposal, we believe first, privatize the highways. It's a short-term solution. You'll get all that money up front and really just start fixing the roads, the bridge, and etc. Finally, implement the following. The annual fees for your hybrid and electric car drivers. The state-run charging stations, we think will bring in a lot of revenue. And finally, market this beautiful state that you live in. Advertise and try to get revenue from that too. Thank you very much for listening for our proposal. And at this time, we'll take any questions that you might have.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Maybe I'll start. How did you guys come up with what your solution was here? Maybe consider some of the things that you've discarded. How did you focus in on the privatization? Because obviously that is pretty extreme.
In making our decision, we really did realize that because it's a tax issue, we wanted to avoid just raising a tax. And we did consider a lot of things, for instance, a fluctuating gas tax. We had felt pretty strongly about it because we thought, okay, funds are needed now, but maybe not later as much. So if we do a tax where there's a higher gas tax now, and then when funds for the state are less important, the gas will fall. That may work. But then we realized a lot of stipulations may occur, different projects come up, and we really felt we wanted to stray away from any sort of tax and bring in revenue from a separate entity, and that's really what we felt would be good.
Yeah, so we feel that they'll come right in, they'll fix your problems now, take that operational burden off of yourself, and then you'll also see the revenues year after year virtually without doing anything. It'll all be in their hands, and you'll be able to focus on other projects. In addition, we came up with for example, the annual fuel tax, the annual fee for alternatively fueled vehicles. There are polls, other states do charge by mile program. We looked at that, but polls show that constituents prefer a yearly fee. They would rather not deal with the record keeping of the charge by mile programs.
Did you guys consider the politics of privatization for our state, which is similar to Rhode Island? We probably wouldn't go for this.
We did consider it, although we would look further into it as far as the particular politics in the Westmead area, and we can definitely get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you.
That's why we would like the clauses mandating state workers be the ones that do all the work. So the company's going to come in, we wanted a shorter lease term, so if it's not going how you want, you can retake control of your highways, and also you'll have all the state workers will still be employed to maintain their jobs.
Okay, good follow, thanks.
Can you maybe tell me about a solution that you had considered that was tossed aside and maybe why it was tossed aside?
Yeah, one that we really considered heavily was a personal property tax. We noticed Westmead doesn't assess a property tax. It's just a local tax that they use by jurisdiction. So we wanted that every hybrid driver or electric car driver would, pay a little bit more into the tax system. But then we figured, again, it's just another tax, and that really wasn't what we were looking for you guys.
Did the collapse of the bridge have any impact on your solutions?
Yeah, because we figured we needed money now and a large sum of money now. So that way, if we privatize the highway, we'd be getting billions of dollars right away that maybe could be used to fix the bridge and get the bridge back running again.
Very good.
Okay. All right, thanks very much, everybody. You give us a couple of minutes and we'll call you back in.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Good call. Would have been like one of the springboard.